Hi guys, welcome back to my video. So today I'm going to check out the book fair here in Beijing, and it's book fair season. They're doing it across different districts, but I heard this one in Chaoyang is the largest one, and the bookstore that closed up in Wangfujie is having a stall here, so I really want to go check it out, maybe get some secondhand or new literature. I'm ready to go. So here's what I brought today. Because it is also a park, so I thought maybe it would be nice to walk around. So I brought my film camera, the Contax T2. See? 8 more photos and I can develop it. I also brought Mia's film canister. She gave it to me so I can develop ours together. I keep forgetting, so I was like, I'm gonna bring it with me, so if I do finish this, I'll go to the film lab together to drop them off. And then I have my AirPods and also my wired headphones in case my AirPods die, and I hate listening to my thoughts. Last night, I had such a tough time trying to fall asleep. Partially fucked myself there because I just go to bed so late, but last night I turned all my electronics off and I laid in bed for like 2 hours until I eventually fell asleep. And I had a interview this morning too, but it was fine. I woke up pretty energized. So I also brought my little travel notebook. I brought 2 pens because I was thinking, since I'm at the park, it might be nice to draw, and since there's greenery everywhere, I brought a green pen. Platinum Preppy fountain pen, 0.2, which is like really fine line. And then the other one is the Pilot Juice in 0.5. It was so hot, and I got back in the car and it was like a sauna, but finally it's cooled down enough that I can do a haul, I guess. So here are all the things that I got. The guide, it's kind of cute. In terms of books, I got 3 books. I got Susan Sontag's Against Interpretation and Other Essays. I read some essays from Sontag when I was in a film directing class, I think, or was it humanities? I really liked her writing. I think at the time I didn't really appreciate it, but now looking back, I can appreciate the depth and how relevant it is, especially after I read Camerda Lucida. Now I want to read more essays on critiquing art. On the back here, it says Sontag was among the first critics to write about the intersection between high and low art forms and to give them equal value as valid topics. Shown here in her epoch-making pieces, Notes on Camp and Against Interpretation. I'm excited to read this one. And then I also got Steppenworlf. I wanted to get this for so long. Last time I was in Page 1, a bookstore in Nanjing, I was deciding between getting this or Beware of Pity, and I got Beware of Pity, which is like, I still haven't read it, but whatever. I'm super excited. I really want to read this. I think it's about this man is metaphorically half man, half wolf. Got that wolf inside of me. Okay, and then I got this for Vivian, my friend. The short story of film. It's a little bit fucked up in the back, but I just flipped through it and I thought she would appreciate it so much. Each film has a spread, and it's just such a nice, high quality print. Oh my god, Metropolis. Have you ever watched this? Amazing film. It's like probably one of the only silent films I ever watched, but I loved it so much. Anyways, I also got the sticker. Every time I see something that's of a black and white cat, I want to get it because I don't know why, but there's rarely any black and white cat merch. A place where you can like stamps, and I always seize an opportunity. So there were more, but the place was so crowded, didn't really want to try to get through, you know? I get really passive when it comes to things like that. I think it's a success. I didn't really stay for super long because I was just not really feeling it. And I did take 3 pictures. I still have 5 left. So I don't think I'm gonna rush it. I guess I will finish the roll and then drop it off together with Mio's film maybe another day. I finished 2 books in April, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about them and share my thoughts on the 2 books. So the first book that I finished was Camerda Lucida by Roland Barthes. I think I pronounced the name wrong in my video when I was talking about how I want to read it. I said Lucidia, but no, it's Lucida. And Camera Lucida is actually a thing where you can trace an image and create another version of it with pen and pencil, whatever, through this contraption. I think what Barthes is getting at is a central point, I would say the beginning of his essays. So this is consisted of a bunch of short essays, as you can see. The first half is mainly him talking about or trying to understand himself, what he likes about certain photos and what he doesn't like. And the second half was about how he finally found this image of his mother who just passed, where he thinks the image was able to capture her essence, who she really was, unlike other images which really creates a copy, a superficial copy of the thing without actually capturing the essence. Chapter 5, he talks about how when he poses for the camera, he thinks that the photographer gives him existence the moment that his image is captured, and that before his photo is taken, he prepares himself to become the image. Now, once I feel myself observed by the lens, everything changes. I constitute myself in the process of posing. I instantaneously make another body for myself. I transform myself in advance into an image. And then on page 11, no doubt it is metaphorically that I derive my existence from the photographer, but though this dependence is an imaginary one, I experience it with the anguish of a certain filiation. An image, my image, will be generated. He goes on to talk about a lot of the things that I don't necessarily agree with. He's very picky about what he likes. He talks about studium and punctum, which is basically the general feeling of liking an image compared to being like pricked or punched by the image. And usually he talks about punctum as in a detail that stand out, something that really grabs his attention and something that in essence gives the photograph meaning. The thing that I find most interesting is that towards the end, he starts talking about how now images don't seem to mean anything anymore because they're always a representation of something. For example, he's talking about how in his era when he wrote this, America was this new thing of advertisement, of new explorations of media, and he talks about how all the photography in America is just media to be consumed and it is an advertisement of sorts. For example, he talks about how unless something is perceived as bringing pleasure, it does not bring pleasure, where we feel like we need to share everything or else we didn't do it, and people would live to just take photos of their experiences so that your photo is a reference of a fun, exciting life, even though you are the one being referenced and you are actually not living that sort of life. You're doing it just to appear so. So in his exact words, because when generalized, it completely derealizes the human world of conflicts and desires under the cover of illustrating it. He also talks about how photography makes us unable to wait and unable to be patient of the process of something happening or the process of things, because how in the past you need to hire a painter to have a portrait of you and your family, or if you want to capture a scene, you have to set up your tools and paint. But with the invention of photography, that kind of waiting is no longer needed. In a way, people just want to create and consume as quickly as possible. By doing that, the initial purpose of photography kind of disappears. According to him, the one thing that photography has and cannot be replaced by any other form is that it proves something has been there. He calls it the that has been. For example, when he sees an image of him as a child, even though he doesn't feel like he relates to the child anymore, or if he doesn't even remember the photo being taken, he knows that he was there as a child, standing right there in those clothes. He knows that it is a fact that cannot be denied by anyone. And I thought it was interesting because the thing that is so rare about photography is now being overwritten by AI generated images, and you can always alter something, and you can, in a sense, alter a physical record of what used to be this proof of life and proof of the existence of things. So in a way, I think he would hate AI generated images as much as I do. And in his words, he says, "Everything today prepares our race for this impotence, to be no longer able to conceive duration, effectively or symbolically. The age of the photograph is also the age of revolutions, contestations, assassinations, explosions, in short, of impatiences, of everything which denies ripening." It's a very interesting read and also kind of a difficult read. He uses a lot of Latin phrases and he does talk in a way that I think over explains and repeats himself a lot. But it does work because towards the middle, I start to understand what he means when he said certain things in the beginning. And thanks to him repeating it, kind of regurgitating it, I was able to catch on. I would say around 40 pages in. But overall, it's a very significant book if you want to understand photography and if you want to be able to train your eye for images that you actually like or explain why you like certain images. I think it's good to read it. It is not like a fun read per se. The second book I finished was Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. It tells the story about our main character, Charles Ryder, his obsession with the Marchmain family and their estate and the world of lavish lifestyles and insane amounts of wealth and their Catholic faith, which he does not have. It starts with his friendship with Sebastian, their son, when they were in Oxford, and slowly he becomes obsessed with pretty much the whole family. But later on, he becomes obsessed with Sebastian's older sister, Julia, but mainly to chase a fading shadow because he sees Sebastian and Julia, which I think is why he engages with her in the way that he did. It's really about loss of innocence, loss of youth, and delusionment, as well as class differences, social differences, and slow creeping approach of World War II and how it affects everything. The writing is very atmospheric. It is very painfully overdone at some points, and it reads a bit pretentious. The painful thing is the pretentiousness doesn't feel like it's coming from our main character, Charles. Instead, it just feels quite obvious it's the author being pretentious with the way he writes, which makes it slightly unenjoyable because he did not give a strong and convincing voice for the main character for me to feel this way. Also, every single character in this book seems to either be a very shitty person or has an affair or denies religion but eventually loves God in the end. I really liked the first part of the book, Et in Arcadia Ego, which means even in Arcadia, which is like this pastoral idyll, death is still there because the Marchmain family is Arcadia, and what Charles and his friend Sebastian experiences is exactly that. I think that's the part I enjoyed the most. The characters are the best written and the plot was most interesting. The second and third part were just a bit drawn out and boring to me, and especially after I finished reading the book, I felt like I was very unsatisfied. I think I'll give it a 3 out of 5. I never felt like I'm going to DNF it, but it's not the best, it's not the worst. Friends are always telling me how I get the most random hobbies. Like half a year ago when I picked up polishing like walnuts and like seeds of different, these are all walnuts. Both of these are walnuts, but different types. This is the seed of a pine from a Tibetan monastery, and this is a type of fosho. I don't actually know what xiaojinggang is, but these are all seed bracelets and seed ornaments, which I'm more into. There's two general types. There's wood-based and there's seed-based, and I really like seed-based more because they're more oily and you can see the color progression quicker. So I think I'll put a photo of both of these half a year ago and you can see how much they've changed. Basically, they absorb the oil and the moisture from your body when you polish them with your hand. And it's very, very satisfying. And yeah, I love it so much. But lately, I've picked up another hobby that no one has ever thought of, I guess, in a million years, which is bookbinding. I bought these really thick cardboard papers a while ago when I wanted to start this project, but I've been putting it off kind of until this week. Anyways, I've learned these two techniques. One is, as you can see, they're all straight across, and this one where they cross over some of the stitches. I've also made these small vertical notepads. These are for my friends. All of these small ones I made for my friends, and I already sent them out through mail today, because if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I send snail mail to my friends. These are the only two I have left because they're Mia's and Vivian's. They're my friends here. And these two I think I'm just gonna use for myself. I still haven't decided because they're quite thick and I don't want to just use them for the sake of using them. I think the most exciting is, in my traveler's notebook, I have printed and cut and bound my own Sudoku book because I love Sudoku, and now I have like Sudoku on the go. The best thing about starting a new craft is learning about it and buying all the new stuff that you need. Consumerism, oh sorry, but these like bent needles are the thing you need when it comes to bookbinding. It's just so interesting. It makes everything so much easier. And in the same vein of piercing paper with needles, I have got into another adjacent hobby. Photo embroidery. So these two are made before I had the proper material. So these two were both a lot of pain to finish because, as you can tell, this one, the thread was way too thick and I didn't have a thick needle, like embroidery needle. So it was super tough to get every single stitch through. And this one was done later. You can tell because I got so tired. I just used sewing thread, but the same diameter needle. But this one just looks way less full overall. And what are these on? Oil paintings I made that I custom made into postcards. Yeah, I think now that I have the proper material, I will try my hand at more proper pattern embroidering on postcards. And I'll show you when I do that.